Thank you for your time today. I'm going to do this in two parts. Part one is going to be an overview of the financial planning tactics layout, and then part two will dive into specific planning tactics in more detail. Let me first of all open up VisionWorks. I've got a number of examples that I want to show. I've created them as all separate solutions. And what I'm going to do is go to presentations, planning tactics. The basic layout for the planning tactics feature in Corpworks is the same as in VisionWorks. In the upper left corner, you'll see the ability to create new solutions, edit names and things like that. You can see I've got a number of these already built in so we can do demos of different features today. Also, solutions are linked to corresponding solutions in VisionWorks. And you can see if I change solutions here, the related VisionWorks solution automatically changes. What I'm doing today is I'm going to start off and use rental properties as an example. So first of all, just as an overview tour, in the lower left area, we have the different types of tactics. When you select the tactic, its entry panel opens in the upper right. Below that, you'll see a change in results area, which shows the difference in personal, corporate taxes, total taxes. And also in cases where the main bank account, the central processing engine in VisionWorks, have you got enough money in your bank account for the expenses that you've outlined? So that's featured because in some cases, an improvement in the main bank account is what we're looking for. And then there's also a total plan difference, and this is in VisionWorks. Below that, there's a graph of the corporation that you're dealing with, and you can actually open a file here and see different corporations if there are holdcos and opcos. And then to the right, the effect of any tactic on the income assets forecast in VisionWorks. And this is actually updated on a lifetime basis. You don't have to go back and import into VisionWorks and so on. It's all done live. The other thing is the change in results and the effect on the graphs is based on the wealth state slider in VisionWorks. So I'm just going to go back and remind you about that. If we go to VisionWorks Planning Tactics, then you can see in the upper left that when you're working with a client, you have a choice. What's more important to the client? Is it wealth optimization or is it state preservation? And different tactics, both in VisionWorks and Corpworks, will react differently depending on what you've selected as far as the wealth to state slider is concerned. Let's go back to presentations. What I'm going to do today is give you an idea of how effective all of this is. I'm going to give an example of a revenue property. So a very common question is, should I own revenue properties personally or should I own them in the corporation? So let me go back again to VisionWorks. In this file in VisionWorks, what we have right now is Bill owning rental property. And you can see if we look at the buy sell that he's going to keep it. You've got the various entries that are related to the rental property in there, gross rent, things like that. So if we go back to Corpworks now and go to that tactic, in order to answer the question, should I own the rental property personally or in a corporation? Literally, all you need to do is click on the revenue property tactic in order to open its panel. You can see the rental property owned by Bill. Select the transfer to corporation button, put in a date when you're going to do this. I'm just going to make this in the middle of the year. And then which company you're transferring it to. And then if there are liabilities associated with it in VisionWorks, then you can also transfer those over. And if there are any gains in VisionWorks, instead of transferring at the ACB, you can transfer at the current value and realize those gains. I'm going to leave those deselected, click OK. And now that I've put in those details, what corporation, when I want to do it, I'm going to click the Calculate Tactic Effect button. And what we immediately see is the impact. And what it says is personal taxes saved $356,000. Obviously, you don't have the rental property income anymore. Corporate taxes saved are negative, meaning you're going to pay corporate taxes, and the total taxes saved is negative $250,000. And because of all of that, the total plan difference is negative $236,000. Obviously, this is a case where we would not apply that tactic. We've learned very easily that it's not going to be an advantage to holding the rental property in the corporation. I want to point out a couple of things, though, that there are factors that are involved. Is the corporation one with 6 or more employees? Because that can have an impact. Is the rental income passive income, or is it active income, and so on? So there are a number of these things that we need to look at. Just so you can see how this works, I'm going to click Apply, even though it's a negative value. And then what I'm going to do is go back to VisionWorks. When you make a change in a corporation and you want to apply it in VisionWorks, you need to import the corporate file back into VisionWorks. So I'll do that first, and then we'll have a look at the rental property entry. And you can see from it that it has now been transferred to a corporation. There's the date of transfer. We can see ABC and so on. And now if we look at the corporate file, what we can see for ABC is that it now has the rental property that's being transferred from Bill. On the day after it leaves VisionWorks, it comes into Corpworks, and then all the different numbers are transferred over, rent and so on. It's a very simple process to answer the question for clients, saves you a great deal of time, and that's what we are trying to achieve with the planning tactics. Thank you again for your time today, and wish you a very pleasant weekend.